How's it going, everybody? It's the CDH Warrior coming at you with another episode of CDH. We survived this? Now what? So, let's roll the title. So, this week I wanted to delve into neurologic disorders, neurologic issues associated with CDH. I want to start out with the standard preface, standard disclaimer. I am not a psychologist, I am not a neurologist, I am not any kind of specialist. I have had 28 years living with CDH. So I've had that kind of life experience. I am a clinical psychology major in college. I'm working on my associate's degree. But I wanted to make the preface of I'm not necessarily an expert in this. So, now with that standard disclaimer out of the way, let's jump back into the main discussion. Main reason why you were here. So, I actually had to look some things up to do this video on neurologic disorders, psychological disorders, issues associated with CDH. A lot of people see CDH and psychological and neurological disorders, and assume that it's not super common. Or they believe that we have neurologic and psychological disorders, and that's just standard, that's commonplace. And neither is really an accurate thought or an accurate statement. So I went through and did a little bit of searching for this. But with neurologic disorders, let me pull my article back up. This is from the National Library of Medicine. Neurological development in CDH. So, according to a study in 2009, preschool motor developmental scores in individuals with CDH are normal or mildly reduced and improve with age. However, non-focal neurological abnormalities such as hypotonia, basically hypotonia is, and I need to kind of define this here. This is all coming from the National Library of Medicine. Hypotonia is basically the decrease in muscle tone. With CDH, we're confined to a hospital bed for, consider at least the first 2 months of our life. Sometimes longer than that. So, that is something that needs to be touched on. But most of this most of them are more physical issues. However, our goal with this one was more neurologic issues. So, for me, I've had a seizure disorder. Not many people are even going to realize that. Very few people even know it now. Well, they know it now that I've said it, but very few people even realize I've lived with a seizure disorder. I am completely healed. We don't know why. They cleared up almost 15 years ago with no rhyme or reason. So, I don't want to state that this is a common issue, although it can be a common issue to have seizure disorders and things, neurologic issues related to CDH and related to having been on ECMO. But there are other issues involved with all this. With some CDH issues, we'll do a whole nother video, I believe, next week. I want to do a whole nother separate video on the psychology of CDH. Talking about the various psychological issues you can have, learning disabilities. I'm not going to get too specific. I put the preface that I'm not a psychologist. That is correct. However, I am a psychology major, focusing in rare disorders and developmental psychology. So that gives you some explanation of my background. But I always put the preface of I'm not a psychologist because I'm not licensed and I'm not finished with my degree yet. But I've been through all this. I've been through all of the explanations and all of the testing and all of... Most of us with CDH know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of testing involved. There's a lot of back and forth dealing with neurologic issues in CDH. They are commonplace. Everything from brain bleeds that are, they're not super common, but they can occur. Ironically, I have seen calcification occur. A lot of us have things like sensory integration, autism, ADHD, ADD. A lot of us have psychological issues, neurologic disorders that kind of exist to the side that people don't think about. There are issues that I will bring up over the coming weeks. After we do all of this, I want to try all these different videos on the systems for what we've been through, going system by system. I want to get down to honest explanations of what CDH survivors go through. and I'm probably going to rope some people into helping me with this. We'll see how that works. But it's one with neurologic issues with CDH. Like I said, I was discussing dealing with ADHD, autism, sensory integration disorder. Seizure disorders are common. They're common and not common. I'm not the only person I've run across with CDH and a seizure disorder, but there are a lot of us. More commonly, you're going to see things like autism. And there's no official link. I don't think anyone's ever found a link that explains why one happens with the other occasionally. But it's one, as far as other neurologic disorders, and that's what I was looking up articles for neurologic disorders with CDH. One of the things was hypotonia, which is also a muscular disorder. Sorry for the weird cut. I live in a house and we all have different schedules, so but I was discussing neurologic disorders, and it's one abnormalities, a lot of abnormalities with neurologic disorders are reduced fine motor skills. A lot of what we discussed a few weeks ago with the muscular system ties back to the neurologic issues. There's a lot that goes on with CDH that people don't think about. And that's why I wanted to start this video series and do this video series, was not just to educate people that are new to CDH, but the general public as well. Because, let's be honest, we're not all that well known to the general public. But we do exist. So, with that, and with dealing with CDH, and the neurologic side of things, there's a good bit that people don't see. I know there are a few that I've run across with CDH that had hydrocephalus. It's not so much that it's super common with CDH, but it does occur. So with a lot of the CDH issues, a lot of times you're dealing with neurodevelopmental issues, delayed development from early childhood. So basically, one of your biggest issues is trying to go from where you are to bring them back to normal. As normal as you can get. But that can be hard in and of itself to deal with CDH. I feel like I'm rambling on, that I've kind of lost focus now. But if you've dealt with CDH, if you are a CDH survivor, please chime in the comments. I want to know what you all have been through with the neurologic side of things. I know it's hard to sit there and share your story. Trust me. I've been doing this 4 months now, almost 5 months, and this is the hardest thing I've done, trying to sit and share my story and get everything out onto a video. But over the next few weeks, we're probably going to jump into some, I'm not going to call it R-rated, but some PG-13 related content. We're going to discuss some issues with intimacy. We're going to discuss issues with not so much with having children, but what you have to think about when you want to have children. Trust me, there are things that go through your head with CDH that people won't even have any clue you need to think about. But I think that's all I have for this week. There go the alarms. So, for the CDH Warrior, I'm Drew Monday, and I will see you next week. Have a great day.